Hello and welcome to this instalment of Talking Trim. I'm Jonathon Skinner and today we are looking at the B-post speaker panels as well as the Wheelarch panels for the Jaguar E-Type 2+2. Now specifically these are for the Series 3 2+2 and even more specifically they're for the quite late and rarely seen second continuation versions, as they were known I believe. So the majority of the 2+2s, including the majority of the Series 3 2+2s, did not have this setup here. They had a similar-ish setup, but with different parts where, say like this B-post speaker panel here was done in kind of two pieces. You had the main panel there at the bottom and then you had the B-post strip there. And the wheel arches, although they were set up in terms of you had a metalwork panel, which I'll show you in a second, the actual material cover was one piece. So you basically trimmed that and then the other piece ended up getting trimmed over the top of these molded pieces at the back here, whereas the later cars it was very much trimmed in two separate pieces in the car. But like I say, it's quite a rare version. Now it's worth checking out one of my other videos because I've done a video showing the other version, a much more commonly seen version. So there will be a link in the description below for that, as well as a link at the end of this video for that there. And what we've got here, we've got a mixed bag of things. We've got two kits effectively. We've got parchment, which is this cream version. This is a full leather kit, the cream one. And then we've got black vinyl, which is standard OEM spec, should we say, kit. Black vinyl one's going over to a customer in Australia. The parchment kit is going to a customer in France. And the customer in France has sent us a lot of his original parts for us to trim in-house. And hence, this video here is going to detail the retrim kits, which is what we standardly supply, i.e. material cut to shape, sewn if applicable for retrimming to your original parts here. But if you want, we can do the trimming work for you. And to a certain extent as well, we can offer replacement parts. So for example, these molded black plastics here for the wheel arches, that's actually going to the customer over in Australia because his old ones are quite broken. Whereas the trimmed up parchment one here, as well as this one here, are the customer from France, so he's just sent us those and we're retrimming them there. So sort of doing a bit of a mixed bag video showing you the retrim kits in two different materials and then part trimmed versions versus the original ones versus the retrim kits you would use at your end. So do bear with me as I go through this, as it might get a little bit confusing, and I do these videos off the top of my head. So with that in mind, be sure to check out the description below, as there might be some information included in there that I've omitted from this video by accident. There's also going to be links to other videos that will be useful for your E-Type 4-seater 2+2 restoration, and also some links to our websites, not only how to contact us about actually buying some of these parts or having them made, but also links to our blog and handbook area, which is a great resource on our websites that goes into details and depths about these parts, the materials, the cars, but also how we work as a business. We've formed a reputation over the half century we've been doing these kits of extremely high quality and workmanship, arguably the best in the world at what we do, in a very small range of cars that we do. We're not a one-stop shop. We don't want to try and sell you mechanical engine parts, steering wheels or anything like that. We purely specialize in interior trim. We always have done, and only for a very select number of cars. We only do Jaguars, Austin Healey's, Triumph TRs and MGAs and classic Range Rovers at the moment. And that's pretty much all we've done for 50 years. So we consider ourselves somewhat Anaraki about those parts. We really do these kits over and over and over again. And that blog handbook area is a great resource because it really does show how we work as a business. And it's crucial to understand that when choosing a supplier for interior trim is arguably the least standardized area of the classic car restoration. You're reliant on quality of materials. Obviously we try to use very high spec quality materials from the get-go. Even before we put a cut in any of the material, we're using better materials than most people out there. But then it's down to the quality of the templating of the patterns. We've used the same patterns for 5 decades pretty much. We do obviously alter and tweak them over the course of time to try and make them more user-friendly to the idiosyncrasies of the old school productions and inconsistencies within the car. And that's how we've garnered such a good reputation, because we've worked with professional trimmers the world over to make sure that our patterns are the most suitable to application. And in that regard, I'd say that for the most part, arguably our kits are better than what were originally coming out of the factory due to the way we've embraced technology with CNC CAD cutters that cut absolutely everything, including our leather, and the accuracy and the ability for us to adapt and change these things when we get good feedback on it. So just bear that in mind, and do read the blog handbook area. It's crucial to know that just because someone else is selling, say, B-post panels for a Jaguar E-Type 2+2, and then they've got a price and a lead time, that's the only comparison you can kind of do. At the end of it all, you have to resort down to what you know about that company and the quality of the parts and whatnot. And this is why I've done this YouTube channel and spent so much time on our website with photos and information to try and really show you that we do it this way, and if other people are not showing you that, then it's probably safe to assume that they're not doing it the same way, otherwise they would try and show and prove that. So just bear that in mind. Anyway, this video, let's have a little look-see. So just to go over roughly what we're talking about, 2+2, so it's a 4-seater car. We're talking about this sort of B-post speaker panel area here, just next to and just behind the seats, and then the B-post window panel there at the side, and then the Wheelarch panels here going into the boot trunk luggage area here. Now it's worth bearing in mind this specific photo is showing the much more commonly seen version, not this effective two-piece second continuation version, so just bear that in mind. Just trying to see if there's any other photos that might be, no, come up short there, I'm afraid. But yeah, so it's that area there. But like I say, the earlier cars do refer to my other video, as they will give a good insight into it all. But let's start with the B-post speaker panels. So for this specific car, the Series 3, the late second continuation, the B-post speaker panel, that's the B-post going down the side of the window, and the speaker panel front side casing, as we refer to it, that is one piece, and it's molded plastic, has a speaker grill on it, etc. On the right hand version here, which has been trimmed, you've also got that hole there, which is for the rear hatch release in the luggage area. And what we commonly supply is material cut to shape, well oversized, as you can see there, to retrim your original one here. We've got a black kit, which is the OEM specs, just vinyl, and then we've got this cream or parchment, as we refer to it, leather kit here. And this is the French customer, so this will be trimmed up, but for the sake of this video I've left it untrimmed, whereas the right hand version here has been trimmed up, trimmed all the way around. Very neat job. We've made it look easier than it is, or rather my trimmer has. Sort of getting it into this sort of groove area here is pretty tricky. It does take a bit of manipulation and heat, so just bear that in mind. And that's just a repeat. That's the black kit, just the retrim kit that's going out to a customer in Australia. Sitting below that, directly below, would be the front part of the Wheelarch panel. And let's just show you the original one here, which I put onto a bag here just because it's got all sorts of dirt coming off it. I don't want to get it on everything else. But it's a metal panel. It has this orangey yellow foam that's semi-shredding off it, so we're going to have to go over the top of that again and fill in the blanks. But then you have a thicker foam up there with more foam going over the top of it there, and it had this seam going from the corner there. It doesn't actually follow the contour's there, but it goes below the contour there, and you'll see that on the panel on the back there we've made some markings that allow us to know where we're aiming for when we retrim that. So that's obviously the left hand one, which we haven't trimmed. This is the material of the right hand one, which we have trimmed, and this is obviously the right hand one that has been trimmed. So leather all the way around again. You can see the mark where the seam's coming to. Now, quite a tricky thing to trim this. I think probably made tricky by the fact it was leather. The vinyl one's obviously got a bit more stretch in it, so I imagine they're a bit easier to do, but this leather one here was a bit of a pain. In it's all this area here basically, around sort of this section here. It actually ended up taking a couple of people to do it, so our main trimmer needed a bit of hand because he wanted someone to hold it down in place, anchor it in place, while he exerted a fair bit of tension. Basically you ended up with a load of bagginess around this section here because the seam doesn't follow the uniform of the panel. It goes at a different angle there. You end up with quite a bit of bagginess down here, and it really took a bit of manipulation and pulling, and actually a bit of heat to sort of get the material a bit more nimble so that he could get pulled around. But it ended up nicely, but just thought I'd mention that because literally it was done about half an hour ago, and he said it'd be worth mentioning because yeah, well, I won't use the words he used, but said it was a rather painful process and took an extra pair of hands at one point as well. But like I say, I imagine the vinyl ones would be a lot more straightforward because they've got a lot more stretch in vinyl than they do in leather. But anyway, lovely finish, and you've got this top stitch detailing going around as per original spec. Obviously the covers themselves, you've got the black pair here. These big triangles here indicate it's the right hand of the car. We always do that for anything that's handed, that's got a right element to it, always has those triangles there. So you've got these covers here. That's obviously the parchment one that's going to get trimmed up onto there, and that's the other black one that's going as is to Australia. It's worth noting as well, in this bag down here underneath the original one is some foam which is used to pad out certain bits. There's actually extra foam in there because we supply the foam as standard for all 2+2s, but on the second continuation where these are trimmed, you often don't foam those plastic bits up, but there's enough foam in there for that. So as with most things we supply, we prefer to oversupply than undersupply, so you might end up with some excess bits that you don't need. Moving on to those rear Wheelarch panels. This is the original from customer over in France. This is the left-hand panel. Now obviously, I'm not going to be able to do this very well, but you'll see how, going back to this one here, that sort of semi slots into there like that. And then this, there's a bit of an overlap. You can kind of see a bit of a groove there where that and that overlap one another there when they're all joined together. Yeah, can't really do it particularly easy one-handed, but you get the idea. So these are the plastic panels here. You then got an inspection hole panel here. We haven't actually been sent those there, but I do have our original one as a guide there. Obviously it's a bit warm, but that's effectively what it is. That's trimmed in foam and then trimmed round in the material, and these are the bits of material, so you got the leather and the vinyls there for trimming those. But the actual rear Wheelarch plastic is just trimmed all the way around in leather or vinyl. That's the retrim kit, again bigger than it needs to be, plenty of material to pull on. Then these ones here are actually aftermarket ones that we can supply if you need. So we can supply aftermarkets of those bits there, as well as the B-post speaker panels there. And this is going over to the customer in Australia because his ones are well, disintegrated basically. So we can offer those, but generally speaking, we try to encourage people to reuse their originals where possible. You know it fitted your car because it came out of your car, but obviously some people, they don't have a choice. If they're falling apart or they're missing, then we can supply there. So that's effectively the retrim kit for those sections there. I think that's kind of covered it really. Just wanted to show you that video. I will be doing a second version of this video when all of the parchment parts are fully trimmed up, so be sure to check that out. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe and share with other classic car enthusiasts out there, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.